What if you were to listen to an internationally acclaimed, multi-award-winning illusionist, and he had something far more to say than, "Watch this trick"? Rick Thomas is that performer, ready to go far beyond his magic and far beyond your imagination as he shares secrets regarding our dreams. Dreams that can become reality. The future belongs to those who believe in the strength of their dreams. Dreams pass into the reality of action. From the action stems the dream again. And this interdependence produces the highest form of living. Join Rick and his co-host, award-winning broadcaster Tammy Trujillo, for Nothing Happens Until You Dream. Indulge your mind and take a journey never to be forgotten. A journey connecting all of our dreams as we chase them together.
Well, Rick, I guess we have to kind of run through sick call this morning as we get
sick
going.
Call.
Right? You guys have been going through some stuff.
We have been going through a lot of stuff. We've got both my show, The Mansion of Dreams, and the Christmas show presenting right now. If you're listening to this podcast now and all of a sudden you hear Christmas and it's February or March, pay no attention to the conversation. But this part's important. The show must always go on. And no matter what, literally, sometimes people they can't wrap their heads around what we need to do to pull off a show. So when the audience sits down and says, okay, we're going to watch this show, what goes on behind the scenes can be monumental. And this week, the star of the show, my wife, Tara, got viciously sick. Not COVID this time around, just the flu, but bad deal. And there's a lot of it going around, and a lot of people are being really set back a bit with this particular virus. So she was out, and it's very difficult because she truly carries the show. And we had to call everyone in hours before the show to re-choreograph and restructure the show so that it could be presented to the public. And we don't turn away hundreds and hundreds of people who are coming to see a show and be entertained. So everybody has to drop what they're doing. Everybody. We just call the dancers and the crew. It's great on the phone now, as we know, you can text many at once.
Right.
You have that all set up where you just hit one button, say, everybody into the theater, 4 p.m. We've got to run through the show for a few hours before it starts at 7:30. So it's a big deal. We go out there and work with the cast and crew viciously to make sure that we get this show up and running. And we have those dancers that know a bit about what Tara does. They're the backups. They're the understudies, so to speak. It's a whole different world as being an understudy.
Oh, it absolutely is. But before we talk about that, I want to make sure people understand that nobody in entertainment is a wimp. You know, it's not like, oop, I sneezed, I'm calling in today. I know I go on the air when I've just barely got enough to get through the shift. I know you've gone on stage, I know Tara has, when you really probably should be home in bed, but you tough it out as far as you can.
Yes. And of course, I think that you're under the weather slightly as well.
Yes.
So.
Yes, I went through a sore throat, one of the most raging sore throats that I've ever had. I woke up with it last Wednesday, and it was like, where did this come from? But, you know, I was on the air still. So, you know, I've got my famous entertainer secret throat spray that I swear by, and I'm drinking, you know, hot liquids and just toughing through, and my voice still it's pretty raspy, but, you know, I made it through. Because
isn't that sometimes what those on the air want, though? Sometimes it's like the perfect voice.
Well, if I was doing a midnight to 5 music show, it might sound great, but it was a little more seductive than I'd want for NBC News, frankly.
Gotcha. Understood.
I hope everyone enjoyed it, though. Well, Tara's doing better, but she's still fighting it, right?
Yep, still fighting it.
Okay, we just want to make sure everybody knows that she is improving, and you've got a touch of it, too.
It's just slight. But the show's going great. We're thrilled to be offering, so much entertainment.
Well, I didn't realize you had both shows going at once. I thought you were just doing the Christmas show. I didn't realize Mansion of Dreams was on stage still, too. Oh, boy, that is really something. But yeah, understudies, that has got to be one of the toughest gigs because it's like almost ran. It's like coming in second at the beauty pageant. You almost got in and you're ready in case they need you, and you hope they do without wishing anybody bad.
Well, thus wishing somebody bad. You've heard the verbiage, break a leg.
Oh, yeah.
People say it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Break a leg, break a leg. Well, the origination of break a leg came from the understudies. Years and years ago, by wishing somebody to break a leg, that meant that if the star broke a leg, the understudy at that point got to be the star. And for that reason, that was not well wishes. It was wishing poor upon someone. And now it's become good luck.
Right.
So break
right.
a leg definitely stems from the past understudies wishing, hoping, wanting to be the star of the show. And the only way to do it is for the star to break their leg.
Oh, gosh, that's horrible. You just see somebody going on stage back when it really meant that, and somebody just says, very, very snidely, break a leg. And you're like,
break a leg.
You want to smack
drop
them.
A sandbag on them or something.
Right? You want to smack them as you go on stage. No, I love all those tales of how things came to be. I always think that is just so interesting.
Well, you do know also, we have if people don't understand staging, we have stage left, we have stage right.
Right.
We have upstage and downstage. Now, stage left is if a performer is standing on the stage facing the audience, that's stage left. If the audience is sitting, of course, in the audience, that's house right. So when you speak to somebody, you say, I want you to look house right. That means to the right of the stage if you're in the audience. If you're saying stage left, that's to the right of the audience as well, but we're talking about being on stage. So you'd have stage left, stage right, upstage and downstage. Why would you say upstage and downstage? Well, upstage is backstage. Upstage means going back towards the back curtain. But why would you say upstage? Go back in the history of theater. When they built theaters, the public, those watching the show, were on a flat floor.
Right.
They were on a flat area where all the seats were sitting, and the stage was tilted so that the public could see the stage. The back part of the stage was up, and the bottom part of the stage was down. So the stage being tilted, 5 degrees, 6 degrees, whatever it was, when you said upstage, you went up. And went downstage, you went down. And for that reason, there's up and down stage. Ta-da!
Now that one I never knew. That's great. I love all this stuff. It's fun. And I think people who aren't in entertainment, they get a kick out of knowing these things. Entertainment is like this secret fantasy world. Nobody really knows what happens because the public only sees what we want them to see, really. They see the end result, but they don't see all the mechanics and all the time and all the effort that goes into the end result, which may only be 2 hours, backed up by 200 hours of effort.
Well, many people may know what a green room is.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what a green room is?
It's like a preparation room.
Yeah. It's also the room where if there is somebody who comes to see your show, you can take them to the green room and they can wait there to see you as well. Even in television, go to the green room and wait there before you're called. They're not all green.
No,
all the
they're
time,
not.
No.
They're not. I found that out early on when I was a kid, and I thought, they must mean because it's been painted green. And I walked in, and indeed it wasn't. So,
we painted our room green. So our green room, yes, our room is definitely a green room. A comfortable green room. I think it's the color. It's like a forest green.
Oh, okay.
Very comfortable when people come in there. And, it's not like a white.
Or lime green neon or anything like that. I wonder how it became called the green room. Maybe Ready to Go? I don't know.
I have no idea. Someone please tell us, because on that one I'm lost.
We're going to need to research. This is a rabbit hole that I know at some point today I'm going to go down. So.
Yes, and they're going to start saying everything about theater.
Oh, yeah.
Rail systems. What kind of floors do you need for dancers to be on?
I'll become an expert by the end of the day. Oh, my gosh. That's crazy. We had a reunion over the weekend that I went to. And it was broadcasters. We do this twice a year when all these huge, I'm not one of them, but all of these huge broadcasters from LA, past and present, all get together and hang out. I ended up with a couple of my friends who I've known and haven't seen in a long time, but we were all broadcasters in our 20s. And they are still just as I am still. And we were sitting there talking about all of the weird apparatuses and tricks and all that we used back in the 80s to make our broadcasts work. And Randy was sitting there with us, my husband, and just fascinated by all this because, he's a radio, and he says it himself, he's a radio groupie. So he loves knowing all of this stuff, but he only knows a fraction of it that we know. And so he's sitting there with me and two people he hears on the air all the time. One of them is my friend Jim Thornton, who's the announcer on Wheel of Fortune now. He got his dream happening 10 years ago. And we're talking about all these secret mechanics. And Randy was just sitting there like a kid in a candy store, just fascinated. It was fun. I kept thinking of you on Saturday because many times during the podcast, we've talked about not losing our friends, not losing track of people. And, these are two people I haven't seen in person in over 20 years. And I thought, wow, this is what we've talked about. This is what you've talked about. catching up with these people that you think about, but you haven't seen in a long time. So it was really kind of cool. But yeah, we were talking about all the secret mechanics to making things work. And it's pretty fascinating stuff, really.
So talking about making things work, today I wanted to chat just a little bit about what it took to pull off actually the shows with the tigers in it.
Well, we're talking about chapter 18. And this title of this chapter is, to me, a total misnomer. A typical day working with tigers. Rick, I don't think there is a typical day working with a bunch of, 500 or 600 pound tigers. Sorry.
It is.
No.
When it's in your life and 24 hours a day, it's about what you are. That's what it was for me. Raising the children with the tigers, they thought nothing of it. They thought that everybody had tigers.
Oh, yes.
So it wasn't something overwhelming for them. And yes, it was a typical day working with tigers, but yes, I did play with the title just a bit.
Yeah, because it's typical for you, but you are like the 0.00001%, probably way more zeros than that, of the universe that can say you have a typical day working with tigers. Now, one of the things I know, and I always thought was so clever, because you had a number of vehicles that you dealt with the tigers. We're going to talk about those. But I loved the license plates you had on them. And we've got to let people know your license plates because they are beyond clever. They are so cool.
All right. I had a truck and a fifth wheel trailer. The trailer was designed specific for the tigers. I was extremely proud of this trailer. It took a long time to design it. We wanted it perfect. I have to explain it because I was so proud of it. But we drove a truck and the truck license plate was Cat Puller. It was CATPULER. Cat Puller.
I remember seeing that at the house, and I thought, oh, that is too cool. Okay.
And the trailer, the license plate was Cat Talac.
I love those. I am a huge fan of license plates. Every time I get a car, it's a big deal to choose the license plate. So I am totally a geek for personalized license plates and how clever you can get with them. And those have always been a couple of my favorites. But this truck and this trailer, you just drove that up and down the 15 freeway all the time. And nobody knew that they were driving alongside a truck full of tigers.
Truck full of tigers. We traveled with 6 tigers in the trailer. If you looked at the trailer, I had it specifically designed. We cut off the top of the trailer. It was just beautifully finished. It was a horse trailer, and the top had been cut and then brought down. The trailer looked like I was driving a whole bunch of miniature ponies or something to that effect, but they were tigers in the trailer. We had doors on each side that would open to each area every tiger was in. We had a back door that was brought down, and those tigers were all in removable travel cages.
Oh, wow.
So they would be pushed into the trailer, locked into the trailer, and then be able to open the trailer in the back and pull them out. No matter where we pulled in, if we were pulling next to a building on either the right or the left side, it didn't matter. I had doors placed on the sides of the trailer, so at any given moment, I could remove the tigers if there was ever a need to on any direction, in any direction, and from anywhere the trailer was placed. And that was, of course, for safety as well. Now, many times I was asked by people about the caging. The tiger cages were approximately 6.5 feet long by 4 feet wide by 5 feet tall.
Okay.
And people would say, but aren't those cages small? Because you would have people concerned about not only the safety of the tigers, but also how they're treated. And I need to tell you that sometimes it'd be offensive as though we were mistreating these animals, placing them in such a small cage. So allow me to tell you why. When you get in a car, are you required by law to put on a seatbelt?
Yes.
Are you restrained?
Yes, of course.
Can you move around very much?
Not really.
No. Okay. And that's a law. Now, the tigers are kind of the same scenario. You had to create a cage, a place sort of you could put this animal in that was as safe as possible for the animal. Let's say, for example, there was an accident. If they were in a large area, the vehicles would stop abruptly and they would slide from one end of the vehicle all the way to the other end with tremendous damage or death.
Right.
And the smaller the cage, the safer the animal was. while you were transferring these animals. They couldn't move that much. They weren't like squeeze cages. Squeeze cages are when they have to operate on an animal or something like that.
Right.
And they hold them in place. But these cages, they were required by law to be able to turn around, completely turn around, no problem, stand erect with no problem, top to bottom, and be able to sit down and rest or sleep fully extended. So those cages were measured impeccably to make sure that it was as safe as it possibly could and also in travel.
So the FDA even monitors the size of travel cages for the animals?
Yes, and
Wow.
yes, and it's the USDA.
USDA. I'm sorry. Not
FDA's
the FDA.
food.
Yes.
Yes, they monitor.
Wow.
They monitor everything about them. The trailer needed to be air conditioned. So I had air conditioning units throughout the trailer, just like people in their motorhomes. These tigers traveled as though they were in a motorhome. So the front area of my trailer held all my birds. I had exotic birds, Moluccan cockatoos and macaws and doves. And that was completely separated from the tiger area, but everything was completely air conditioned as well. I was very proud of the unit because everything could be moved in and out easily. Everything was on wheels. The tigers were secured. My life was in order. And we drove down the highway in style in the cat puller and the Cadillac.
Oh my gosh, that is crazy. How far did you have to go from home to the theater in Vegas?
When I first was in Vegas, it took me about 15 to 20 minutes to get home.
Okay.
By the time I left Vegas or stopped driving the Tigers, that was 15, 16 years later. The drive home was like 45 minutes.
Yeah, Vegas has traffic.
Vegas grew.
Vegas grew a lot. Now,
Vegas grew.
you took this whole menagerie home every night and brought it back every day.
Yes, every day. Every day we would go out and clean the tigers, feed the tigers, exercise the tigers, walk them into the trailer, drive them into the theater, unload them into the theater, perform the production, load them back in the trailers, and then drive them back home to the habitat at the home every night. That was the safest place for them. They were never left at the theater. It was never a place for them to be. So they were moved in and out properly and safely and then brought back home, open up the trailer and let them run free, so to speak.
Right, because they had a nice big space to cruise around and do tiger things. So if your show runs, when you were in Vegas, it ran what, about 2.5 hours?
2 hours, yes.
2 hours, okay. So for a 2-hour show, what's the entire timeline from the time you actually start getting ready for the show to the time you say, done with this whole thing for the night, it's my time? How long?
3 to 4 hours before the show itself.
It's where it's 6.
About 2 hours after the show.
8.
And then a breather. And sometimes if there was an emergency or we had to take care of the cats or do some extra cleaning, that could take an extra couple hours daily. So you were looking at least I would
8.
say at least a 12-hour day every day just to do the show.
Wow.
And on top of it it's not just a 12-hour day. It's working with the Tigers 12-hour day.
Yeah,
So
right.
they're
right.
a handful. And then, the worst part about it, I had to deal with the cast and the crew. Oh, my word. You think the Tigers were a challenge.
Oh, give me any day when I can just work with my animals or be home with my animals versus going out in the world of people.
Yes.
And I'm going to stay home with the animals. Far, far easier to deal with, less problems, less drama. People seem to be the most difficult animals on the earth. So I know people are going to want to ask this, so I'm going to ask it for them. The trailer. How much does it cost to create something that magnificent? Because and again, we really encourage you to get the book. The link is in our show notes always, because you get to see these things that Rick is talking about. There's a great picture of the truck and the trailer. How much would a trailer like that set you back?
The trailer at that time, I think.
At that time, now we're talking 15 plus years ago.
It was about $30,000 for the trailer, and then the modifications was double that.
Wow.
Making it livable. I never understood it because horse trailers, drive around with horse trailers and they're open air horse trailers.
Oh, yeah.
And people drive around even in Las Vegas with these beautiful trailers, but they're just an open trailer and they walk the horses in and they walk them out. With the Tigers, I was required, of course, to have everything sealed and enclosed and air conditioning units put in. And I go, well, why? Tigers live in India.
Yeah, right.
Tigers live in
hot.
Siberia. They live in the most diverse, cold, and hot places on the face of this earth. And now we're required to have them perfectly controlled airspace, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the list of things to take care of the tigers was huge. The reason was basically they're an endangered species.
Right.
It bothered me because I didn't understand, why are we taking more care of these animals and less of others? Is their life any less important than endangered species?
No.
I don't think so. So it boggled my mind constantly with the hoops I had to jump through for the tigers, yet it was not required for so many other animals. And I felt bad for the animals.
Oh, yeah.
I felt bad for me having to, of course. Now, I don't mind taking care of them. I was thrilled that I traveled around in the best way I could to take care of these animals. I created a habitat. I thought that was the best I could do for these animals. It was my pleasure to do that. But when you saw the corners that were cut on so many other ways that animals were taken care of, that the USDA didn't have a responsibility for, and they were often mistreated, misused, and abused, it broke my heart.
Oh, well,
it still does to this day. So
there's no oversight on a lot of animals. And, you know, in my book, there is no one animal that's more important than another. We can talk about a rat or a mouse, and to me, they're just as important as any other animal, because, you know, they have a right to their life. And I've never quite understood why there really isn't much oversight on how animals are taken care of, the more common animals. It hurts me too.
So that was a big deal that I noticed. But once again, for those that ever wondered, that trailer and truck were stunning. They were gorgeous. Very proud of them. Made sure that the tigers traveled in style. And nobody knew. Nobody knew. I'd drive by people and go, if you only knew.
Oh, my God, no kidding.
There were tigers right next to you. That was always entertaining to me.
You didn't have it marked in any specific way with your logos, your name, or anything like that?
No, just the license plates.
Yeah, which nobody would have gotten. Did anybody ever figure it out? Nobody did.
No one ever talked to me about it.
You drove this thing?
I drove every day back and forth to the theater. I'm very hands-on, sometimes way too much. It was an incredible experience. Very special time of my life.
But wow, that would be something seriously to maneuver, because that's a big, big pickup truck that you're pulling it with. And I can't imagine maneuvering that around on the freeway. That would scare the heck out of me, especially knowing what's in it. You know, knowing that there's very precious cargo in there. You know,
moving them just back and forth from the theater became second nature to me.
Yeah.
The challenges that were faced beyond that was when decisions were made to move them across the world.
Okay, you've got to explain how you do something like that, because, yeah, you have taken these tigers all over the world. And you can't drive them to some of the places you've taken them. So I've wondered, how do you do this? How do you transport a huge animal like that is very valuable, crucial to your show, and can be dangerous? It
sounds simple, but it's a lot of work. We took, of course, the caging that we have inside the trailer, keep those tigers in that same unit when they were traveling. And then we would slide a wooden cover over the top of them saying wild animal on them so no one could put their fingers in. And everything was graded and made sure that the animals could safely travel and not get hurt. We took the tigers to Korea, and they created a beautiful habitat over there in Korea for us. But the trouble was the travels to and from Korea from the United States and back. When I got the tigers back home from that particular tour, that was my decision to actually put them in a habitat and not travel with them any further. It was too much on them and too much on me. It wasn't just financial. Now, financial is mind-boggling. Let's say it cost you $1,000 for you to travel to Korea.
Okay.
Times that times 10, that's what it costs to send a tiger. So if you go for $1,000, it costs $10,000 to take the tiger because they're put in a cargo container. It is special handling. It's a lot of preparation. They need to make sure that the animals are in an airplane and a cargo area that can handle exotic animals, and that there is a schedule that they can fit in around other cargo. And the list goes on and on. So the handling, the movement, and the overall overhead and expense can be overwhelming.
Well, I know sometimes when you take an animal into another country, there's like quarantine times, and you have to have health certs and all that. Did you have to deal with that sort of thing?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh.
They had what was called a CITES permit,
Uh-huh.
and that is kind of like their passport or their visa,
Oh.
and that takes months and months and months to create a CITES permit for the animals.
Oh, wow.
Basically what it is, the U.S. wants to make sure that when you're traveling with these animals, because they're an endangered species, the CITES permit means that you have an educational program that you have created and provide to everyone who sees the animals. So on top of the show, we had pamphlets created and a segment in the show where I did questions and answers regarding the endangerment of the animals. It is an educational process, not an entertaining process, so to speak. So yes, they were utilized in the production, but truly the CITES permit required, and it was fine by me. That's what caused my heart to open regarding the endangerment of the animals, the protection of the animals, and to save them is the government demanding of me to learn everything I needed to know regarding the story behind why they're endangered, what we can do to save them, protect them. I thank the government for that.
Oh, yeah.
And that is called a CITES permit. It's CITES. And if you have one of those, it is golden.
Wow.
It is like once you get one, you take a deep breath because you can't believe you actually have been given a CITES to take your tigers across the world.
You've jumped through as many hoops as they wanted you to jump, and you got it.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow. Because I know how hard it is just to do that with a domestic cat or dog. I mean, it's incredibly difficult. It really is. I remember when you made that decision. We talked on the phone, and you told me you were not going to keep your tigers anywhere. I remember that day. I mean, I remember where I was and everything when you called, and you were emotional.
Well,
This was a huge decision for you. It wasn't simple.
when something is embedded into your head and in your life so long, and you've given so much time and effort to take care of them, and truly to take care of them, it can be overwhelming to let them go. Now, some parents are thrilled to watch their teenagers walk out the door. In this case, it was difficult. It opened up my life for many more things. I had more time to do other things at that point, but I needed to make sure that the tigers were safe and they were well taken care of. And I placed them in a reserve called Keepers of the Wild
That is
off
a
Route 66,
wonderful
just
place.
past Kingman, Arizona. Beautiful valley, a spectacular reserve. And I was honored and blessed, best word to use on that one, that they took those tigers in and wrapped their arms around them and put them in the reserve and took care of them as they did by giving the tigers more than I could have given them as time moved on.
That place is amazing. If you're ever around Kingman, Arizona, you can go to it. It's a beautiful facility. And I actually did a story a couple of years ago on some of the this is before the pandemic, which derailed a lot of things, certainly. But some of the plans they have for expanding it and making it more, I don't want to say a tourist attraction, but with more amenities.
Right, because it's not a tourist
No,
attraction. It is a reserve. It's not a zoo.
Right.
They'll allow the public to go through there, but
Right.
it's not meant to be that.
Right.
They know that the public are inquisitive. They want to make sure that when they go there that they have a good experience and realize that these animals and those that are watching and taking care of them are doing everything that they can and do it right. So
But it's an amazing place, and the man who owns it is an amazing person and with some great vision and some great love for these animals. Do you miss having those big cats, though? I wonder, because you've got the beautiful, the Great Pyrenees. They're fantastic.
my dogs.
Yeah, Thunder, Lightning, and I've forgotten
Storm.
one. Storm.
Yes.
I forgot him. Tell him I apologize.
Oh, that's all right. It's such a hard question to answer. I would never trade the years that I had them in my life. The decisions that were made, once you have a tiger, you always have tigers in your life, is true. The responsibilities are massive. You just can't walk away and just find a new owner,
Yeah, right.
so to speak. And that's why the Keepers of the Wild was such a wonderful part of my life, is that opportunity to actually find a proper facility for these animals.
Right.
And they be taken in. If not, then I would have continued to take care of them however long I needed to, because that indeed is my responsibility. And I took that responsibility, and it was just the right time and the right place for me. And when I did, life moves on. I remember when I was younger in my 20s, I thought that my life would have maybe 2 or 3 chapters. Well, my Tiger Whisker book is a perfect demonstration of how many chapters all of us truly have in our life, and that is many. I think there's 50 or 60 chapters in the Tiger Whisker book, and by the time you reach our age, you realize and you look back and go, wow, there were a lot of chapters in my life.
Oh, my gosh.
A lot of change in direction, a lot of new things that popped up in your life that caused you to completely change the way you think, the way you act, the way you work, the way you're around people. Life changes. For those that are young, life is a struggle, and enjoy the ride.
As we were talking about this weekend with my broadcast friends, it's like, where did it go? It was just a snap of your fingers that yesterday we were, kids broadcasting in the 80s. And now it's 40 years, 40.
The 80s.
Yes.
The greatest decade in ages.
But that was just a blink ago. I mean, it really was. But it's not. It's 40 years ago. Where did it go, Rick? It was just a moment ago. That's what you don't know when you're young. And I don't.
Well, that's what keeps me going with the show.
Oh, yeah.
People are saying, why do you continue to do the show? Do you need to? I said, yes, mentally. It makes me feel alive. It gives me direction. I continue to follow my dreams. You don't just hit a plateau and then just stop. For me, going and walking out on that stage, it's the next show. It's the next adventure. You're only as good as your last show, so I better not stop anytime soon.
Well, if you do, you better stop when you've had the greatest show
The greatest show of my career.
Right? The one that was 130% beyond perfect, and you go, I can't top it. I'm done. But if you were done, if I were done, we'd be wanting to do it every single day. I can't imagine not being on the air. That is who I am. You are a magician. That is who you are.
What I do.
Yeah.
This is it's not off the topic because it's about the tigers. But I want people to understand the plight of the tiger and just share what I share in my show and reiterate again the challenges we face with these creatures. So if just give me a moment, I'm going to go into entertainment gear and say it as though I say it in my show. And it goes something like this. In the year 1900, there were 120,000 Bengal tigers in the wild. That's 120,000 Bengal tigers. Today, there are 3,000. There's more poachers than tigers. More poachers because the tigers are worth up to $100,000 a piece dead. $100,000 a piece dead. 50 years ago, the United States stepped in and began a breeding program, which I'm very proud to be part of. We now have more tigers in the United States than anywhere else on the entire face of the earth. There's 3,000 tigers in the wild. There are about 7,000 tigers in the United States. And that's a good start, but we aren't even close. And then there are those people that scream, set the tigers free. So please be aware, if the U.S. did not do what they did some 50, 60 years ago, tigers would today be in history books. They'd be gone. And I'm just glad I'm part of trying to save something on Earth. So the challenges are difficult. You can't take and stick these animals straight back out in the wild.
No.
But in so doing and creating this program of actually having the tigers in captivity, it has actually helped to save the animal, not destroy it.
We don't want a world without tigers. I'm sorry, we don't. We don't want a world without tigers or elephants or any of these endangered animals. I'm always thrilled when I find groups that are doing whatever they can to save these beautiful creatures. We need them, and they have a right to be here.
Yes.
For me, it's down to the smallest mouse. I care about them all. It doesn't matter what they are. There's just not an animal in the world that I am not an advocate for because they're so special.
Well, bravo to you.
And you too. You're an animal freak. I know it.
Yes, and once we finish the podcast today, I need to go out. I have a little home that I created for the Great Pyrenees dogs.
Oh,
it's a house, indoor, outdoor. It has air conditioning.
Good job.
Yes, I learned very well taking care of my tigers, and I implemented that into the care of my dogs. Now they're Pyrenees dogs. They're not in the house. For anybody who has a Pyrenees dog and it's a house dog, well, more power to you. Congratulations.
Good luck.
That is mind-boggling because when we did first have the Pyrenees dogs, we went through at least 3 or 4 vacuums in a year.
They're all fur.
Their hair shredded these vacuums.
Oh my
There was
gosh.
not an animal vacuum. You know, you buy these vacuums saying, yes, perfect for pet
Oh, yeah.
hair.
Yeah, we have
Not
them.
Great Pyrenees.
They're all fur. They're all fur.
And so I decided to put together housing right behind the house where it literally is their own home, their own area where they can have indoor, outdoor facilities. They go inside when they want, they go out when they want, and then I can open up that area and they can run through the entire back area of the home. I'm real happy with what we did and how we laid that out for the dogs as well.
I've got to ask one more question because I've had people ask me this who have seen your show. Rick, do you hate birds?
I hate birds.
Okay. I just wanted to get that down.
I hate them, but people say, do you really hate them? And I said, yes, I do. I started working with birds when I was 13 years old.
Okay.
And I've been cleaning bird cages since I was 13. And we just recently in this podcast said, not without saying the word old, we are older.
Yes, older. Thank you.
And I have been taking care of birds for, 45 years?
Yes.
And the best way to put it is, I hate birds. It's just because just cleaning their cages and the constant care and it can be a little overwhelming. So, yes, I tease a little bit, and it is a love-hate relationship, but it is something that I say in the show. It's a shock factor.
Oh, yes, it is.
So when you're in the show, they see me perform. The first thing I do is make these beautiful birds appear out of nowhere. The dancers are on stage and just a stunning routine. We're doing this amazing bit. I turn birds into Tara. She magically appears. The lights hit us. There's just a stunning moment. And then I walk forward to the audience and go, I hate birds. It's just that moment to break the wall.
It's great.
They're all watching there with their mouths open, just enjoying the show. And then there's got to be a way for me to, not say, well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you. It's my way of breaking the barrier between myself and the audience and telling them I'm just there to have a good time. And by the way, I hate birds.
I remember the first time I saw you do it. I was like, oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah, you don't expect
it's a shock.
it.
Yes.
It's fun. Everybody who has not seen the show has got to see your show because it's just fun. We are rapidly catapulting, pun intended, through December and the holidays and Christmas coming up and Christmas presents coming up. I know what your favorite present to get and give is. Precious metals.
Gold and silver.
The coins, yes.
Oh, by the way, giving gifts. We are so close to sharing actually the Tiger Whisker story.
Yes.
And we didn't plan it this way.
No.
But I believe that Tiger Whisker story will be presented during the Christmas week.
Yes.
Something close to it.
You are correct.
Mind-boggling. It just happens that way.
Isn't that weird? We are one chapter away from that chapter. That one.
Great.
And that chapter is not the end of the book. So I don't want anybody to think, oh my God, there's only 2 more episodes of the podcast. No. There's plenty that comes after.
Yes, it's the middle of the book.
Right.
It's just when life for me transitioned. It changed. I'm still a pain in the butt. But what I learned from that scenario, that beautiful story, is something that I carry with me constant. In fact, I was actually literally talking to a producer in LA about a documentary just about 1-2 days ago. And at the end of the session, he said, do you have anything else to say? And I said, yes, I'd like to tell you my Tiger Whisker story privately. And it was silence.
Yeah.
He said, where did that come from? It's one of those things where that's a once in a lifetime experience.
And it's
remembered forever.
For Christmas. It is.
Yes.
It's a beautiful Christmas story. Even though it didn't happen at Christmas, had nothing to do with Christmas, it's still a beautiful story for the holidays. I can't wait. I'm like everybody who's been asking us, I can't wait to talk to you about that story because I know this story and it's beautiful. That's coming up just a couple weeks away.
Now, gold and silver?
Yes, gold and silver.
What I can tell you is I am so busy and thrilled. And in fact, even today after the podcast, there must be 4 or 5 people that I'm chatting with personally and privately just to help them and their families protect themselves during these challenging times we live in. Diversification, moving what you have financially around so that you can insure it, so to speak, and that's gold and silver. And that's literally what it is. It's an insurance policy on what you have. And no one can tell me right now I'm not hitting the right spots because when you hear about what's going on with the crypto markets, when you see what's going on with our stocks and people's 401s and everything that goes with it, there are people that had something and now they have nothing.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And I'm just proud to tell you that holding on to precious metals is the one thing in our life that is constant, that is secure, that will not lose its value. It holds its value. So talk to me, chat with me, go online, Go ahead, Tammy. Tell them where to go.
Well, it's super easy. You go to mansionofdreams.net/wealth, and there is just a really quick little form. Take you 2 minutes to fill it out. Goes directly to Rick, and Rick will grab his phone very shortly after you send it in and call you up, and you guys will talk about this. And I want to make sure people understand one thing, because when you say gold and silver, people go, oh, yeah, right. Like, I can get into that. I can afford that. It's affordable to get going. You don't have to have a bunch of money to get going. It's amazingly easy to do with probably what you spend at Starbucks every month.
Oh, every week.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, we've got that Jones. We go over there pretty much once a morning. And one day, actually, Rick, I sat down. I don't know why I did it, and I wish I hadn't, and figured out what we spend a month there. It's crazy. I mean, it's good.
Be careful.
I love it.
And Amazon. Very dangerous.
Don't even. Is there anything they don't have? If so, I haven't found it yet. Yeah, I know.
Isn't that crazy that the company, I mean, literally it got so big that no matter what, they have become like the Wikipedia of buying anything. You can go online, and that's the first thing you do is you type it in, and that's going to tell you pretty much what the market is and how much it is. And you can always try and go somewhere else. There's plenty of other stores out there, and please support as many stores as you possibly can.
Yes.
Not Amazon.
Not the giant ones.
There's so many wonderful small stores online that really need your support. And, sometimes I'll go on Amazon and it'll say, go to original website.
Yeah, right.
And I'll click on that one and go as far away as I can. And go directly to the source and see if I can deal direct, because it's better for everyone.
Yep. Amazon's making enough money. So
that includes shows too. If you want to support the entertainer the best, walk up to the theater and buy a theater ticket at the theater. There's a lot of people out there supporting the shows and doing great for us. We appreciate it. That experience of just going straight to the theater and letting us take care of you personally we're very excited for that as well. So embrace the shows, go out there and get entertained no matter how or what it takes. And I hope that I'm part of your entertainment for the holiday season.
Or in January and February out here on the West Coast. Yay.
That's right.
I know. I'm counting the days, Rick.
Thanks for joining us this week on Nothing Happens Until You Dream, starring Rick Thomas and featuring Tammy Trujillo, and is based on Rick Thomas's best-selling book, The Tiger Whisker, available on rickthomas.com. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We'd love for you to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts. And check us out on Patreon for exclusive members-only content. Stay up to date with Rick and Tammy at nothinghappensUntilYouDream.com. Remember, you must follow your dreams, not only for yourself, but for the rest of our future. We'll see you on the next episode.